Hey, what's up guys? This is Shah. I'm just going on a walk today because I've been gaining weight. It's kind of hot out here. But I wanted to make a video talking about single moms and how single moms often come on a spectrum. Now, this isn't me saying you should marry a single mom or you shouldn't marry a single mom. I'm just giving you information from what I've seen in my past job at child support about a situation in which a single mom could be a really bad idea or maybe not the worst idea in the world. And I understand why as a rule no single moms might make sense for a lot of cases, but I do want to be fair somewhat and not demonize people and I don't know, just give you some information. The reason I say single moms come on a spectrum is because when you come into contact with a single mom, they could be in a couple of different situations. And some of those situations are way more dangerous for you than other situations. A not so bad situation might be if you meet someone and maybe they have a child from a previous relationship or marriage, and the father of that child is involved in that child's life, meaning that father pays child support or has some custody, in that the mom really isn't looking for a stepdad, but this is just maybe someone trying to move on with their life. Okay, that's one thing. The reason why that situation's not as bad is because if this child was from a prior marriage or the dad's already paying child support, what you can surmise is that the state already recognizes somebody as the child's legal father, meaning that paternity isn't something that's up in the air, so to speak. Now, if you met a single mom who said that the child's father's not in his life or her life, and he was just an abusive, horrible person, and I'm never going to see him again, and this and that, just me and my child, and that's all I care about. That's a really, really big red flag, and you should not get involved with that. And the reason I say that is because unless you're willing to adopt that child and pay for all that child's needs, the fact is that it might be highly likely, especially if she wasn't married to that prior person, that child does not have a legal father. So now you're talking to a single mom that has a child that only has one parent. And so what this means is that if you get with her and you guys start cohabitating and you start holding out to be that child's father, and the child starts to be raised around you and you become a functional parent to that child, and there's no other guy in the picture, you can be legally recognized as that child's father. So if you guys break up and she breaks up with you and you become the new bad guy and you're just this horrible person, and that's the story she tells to the next guy and everybody else, since you're in that kid's life for some amount of time, this could possibly end up in family court, especially if she goes on welfare or something. Or you guys got married and are now getting divorced, but that child was born prior. The courts are going to say, well, this man held out to be the father of this child, and the child knows you as dad, and they might just make you the father, even though, you're not biologically the father, and you're going to have to pay child support and fight for custody if you want to and all these things, but you're not going to be able to just wash your hands and say, you know what, that child was from before we met and I'm not the dad. The courts aren't going to see it that way. they're going to say, no, you're very much the child's father, especially if the other person isn't involved or never had a functional relationship with that child. And then to make matters worse, here in California, this is kind of new, but California is actually a multi-parent state now. I think that was signed in by Governor Jerry Brown Jr. There can be more than 2 parents to a child in California. So the courts might say, it's good if all 3 of you guys are parents or something like that. And that's something you need to be aware of, because when you're out here, if you're out here dating, and let's just be honest, I mean, most of us guys are normal guys, and those are some of the options you got to deal with, and that's just realistically what it is. I think as far as a flat rule goes for no single moms goes, is if you're a guy and you don't have any kids of your own, I would tend towards probably not getting with a woman that already has a child. That's just me personally. But I've seen people that, maybe the guy has a kid from a prior marriage, and, she's got a kid, and I don't know, maybe they shack up and they get married and they raise their kids together. I've seen that. I've also seen that fail. But, if you're kind of in a similar situation and you meet someone like that, maybe you guys can make a better life for everybody involved, including the kids, if you guys can have a kind of functional home life. But, I would see a lot of cases where there was a guy and he didn't have any kids, and then suddenly he's having his first kid. And then they're in child support, meaning that the relationship didn't work out and it's broken up. And, when I look at the mom's profile, she already has another child support case with the first guy. Now your baby daddy number 2, or possibly even 3. And it's like, how the hell did I end up in that situation? You know what I mean? Like, that's what they would have to be asking themselves. And it's just like, that's where, to me, it's just not worth it to do that. And the final thing I would say to look at, aside from the paternity status, is income. If she makes some decent money, maybe, she's a single mom, whatever, didn't work out, but she does have like an actual decent job and makes, 8, 9, 10 grand a month, something like that, then hey, maybe it can work out, because you're not marrying a bum, at least, and the financial aspect of that. So if you find a single mom and they know how to work, and their kids have a decent relationship with their father, that guy has already accepted paternity, or it was presumed from a prior marriage, and he is legally the father, and he pays child support, and he has custody. That's not like a horrible deal, especially if you got a kid of your own, right? Like, that's a relationship that can happen. And it might work. Or if you're a guy and, maybe there's guys out there with fertility issues and you can't have a kid of your own, maybe you get involved with that. But even in that situation, I wouldn't do that if the woman didn't have any kind of money coming into the marriage. You don't want to work your whole life for a house, and then, it doesn't work out. Now you're on the hook to take care of her kids, and you're losing half the house, and she's getting with somebody else. I've seen stuff like that happen too. So that is the spectrum, so to speak. But for sure, the number one to avoid is a woman that comes to you with a sad story, and the father, she doesn't even know who the dad is, maybe, but for sure the kids don't have a father on the books. Because if you get involved with that and you're cohabitating and holding out and helping her out with that, after a few years, the courts can just say, hey, you know what? We're going to make you the dad, because the kid knows you as dad. You held out to be the dad. And if she's, someone who doesn't want to work, she's just kind of a bum, you're going to be in a real crap situation. So if you are dealing with single moms, that would just be some of the stuff I'd look for. The paternity status of those kids and how involved their actual father is. And then also, does this woman work and have a decent job and at least some kind of a work ethic? That's no guarantee your relationship's going to work. it's just trying to mitigate for, if it doesn't work, at least you might be able to get out of that with, your balls intact a little bit. So that's my advice. Single mothers do come on a spectrum. Again, I don't think it's right to just demonize and be like, no single moms ever. For some guys, that's maybe going to be the choice they make. Especially if you're coming out of a failed marriage or relationship before, and maybe you got a kid or two in tow. Probably split custody with the prior woman. So just something to think about. Anyways, if you made it this far, hit that like button. Maybe I'll do more of these walking videos because I really need to be doing some kind of exercise. I've been really bad lately. Not like bad, but you know what I mean. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.